They were all pursuing stand-up comedy as a hobby. And when we all went around and introduced ourselves and said, why are we doing this? And I was like, well, I'm a consultant and I speak a lot, and I feel like there's a lot more energy in the room and the content resonates better, when the audience is laughing, when they feel that they are entertained as much as they are educated. And my teacher, his name was Law, he really leaned into that, and he really validated the importance of that. And he even talked about the word entertain. And he said, most people think of entertain as being something that's kind of passive. It just sort of washes over you. But then he broke down, I don't know if it was the Latin root or Italian, whatever. He went way deeper than I expected him to do that. But he said, no, it is actually about engaging and locking in and that form of connection.
The future of fun begins at IAAPA FEC Summit, January 19th through the 21st, 2025 in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Join FEC and LBE professionals for an immersive experience packed with strategic insights, networking, and behind-the-scenes EDUTours of unique local facilities.
Learn how to make your FEC stand out in a crowded market and explore the latest trends designed to elevate your business.
Build valuable connections and leave inspired with actionable strategies for success.
Click the link in the show notes to reserve your spot today.
Welcome to the AttractionPros podcast, where we discuss the latest trends and challenges facing the attractions industry today.
We chat with some of the top leaders in the field and provide resources that will help develop your career in this great industry.
I am Josh Liebman. I am obsessed with the guest experience and helping attractions make that their top priority for success.
And I'm Matt Heller. I am passionate about organizational effectiveness, leadership development, and employee engagement.
Now sit upright, hold on tight, and get ready for the AttractionPros podcast. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
It's going resolutionary-tastically, Josh. How are you?
Woo! I'm doing great. And, I gotta say, and I know I've said this before, but I find it so funny. We have to bring it up again. We have hosted so many resolutionary episodes of this podcast that I often have to remind myself that we completely made up the word resolutionary. When spell check pulls it up, I'm like, what's wrong? I spelled resolutionary correctly. And I'm like, oh, but we made up the word.
You made up the word. How many times when you're speaking, because I know you do a lot of presentations, how many times do you accidentally make up a word?
Accidentally make up a word?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like you're probably better at making it. You probably made up resolutionary. I mean, you made up fantastic with 75 A's in it. So,
Well, and I don't do it, and it is true, and truly an accident. Like when I'm speaking and I get excited and maybe I'm speaking quickly and two words get jumbled together and I'm like, is that even a word? So I was just wondering, like in the presentations that you do, if that ever happens to you as well. Or just something pops out, you're like, where did that come from?
I'll bet it probably happens and I don't even notice and I just roll with it. Now I'm wondering if I do it, if I make up words that I don't even realize it.
Yeah.
I'll pull that now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is there a way for us to submit resolutionary to some dictionary entity so that we can get this to be an official word?
I think Merriam-Webster and the OED need to be notified of this immediately.
Right away. Immediately.
I think that could be our first resolution.
Okay, perfect. So for a new listener, what is the purpose of our resolutionary episode?
To create content at the beginning of the year when we do not otherwise have a guest lined up or a topic that is applicable to our audience.
Okay, we're going to cut that part out. No, just kidding. I appreciate the transparency.
That probably is why we did it the first year, because we started this podcast in September of 2017. So in the back half of the year, right? And we've done this episode every single year since we started it. So 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and now here we are. Technically, we are releasing this on December 31st, 2024, but this is the 2025 resolutionary episode, making it number 8 of the number of times that we have done this episode. Why do we do it? Well, it's probably, a couple of reasons. Maybe some personal reflection on ourselves, maybe for our audience to get to know us a little bit better, a little bit deeper. We get to know our guests really, really well. We also talk about what we are really looking forward to and anticipating in the coming year, and also for the industry as well. We've thrown out resolutions that we recommend for the industry. We can recap some of the ones that we talked about in 2024, and I think it's a good way to kick off the new calendar year with goals. And the fact that we are recording it on our podcast, we always come back to the phrase accountability. And we keep ourselves accountable for this at the beginning of the year. And I think this gives us some sort of reference guide to be able to maybe help us and hopefully help some others as well, anchor some, whether it's goals, resolutions, or themes, missions, tasks to accomplish, who you want to become in the coming year.
Absolutely. And I think one of the big things that I get out of this is the fact that if we go back, I'm not a big resolution guy in and of itself, right? But I also recognize that as a human being, as a business owner, as someone who wants to continue to grow, that you do have to make goals. You do have to figure out what your next step is. And, traditionally speaking, when you talk about a quote unquote resolution, I'm going to go to the gym this year. I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to eat better, and those kind of things typically fall off in February if you don't have the accountability. But I think the other thing is that when we look at even how we run our own businesses, like if we go back and listen to that very first one, I'm sure a lot of things have changed. And there could be things that we said back then that we don't want to do now, or that we're doing differently now, or, just kind of looking at that evolution. So I think that it gives us pause, or an opportunity to pause, but I also hope it gives our listeners an opportunity to do the same thing, because so many lives can be so fast paced and so many things going on, and all the things that happen throughout a day, a week, a month, a year, that it can be difficult sometimes to just take that opportunity to see where you're at. Just take stock of where you are and what that next step might be. I know I've spoken to a lot of people over the years where they're too almost in the weeds to figure out how to get themselves out, or they just need a different perspective. So sometimes it's just taking a pause and an opportunity to do that. Sometimes it's somebody, holding you accountable or hitting you over the head with that idea that you should do that. But my hope is that not only do we get to talk about this and solidify our sort of goals and direction for the next year, but that other people take the opportunity to do the same thing as well.
Awesome. Love it. So before we dive into maybe what we're looking forward to in 2025, do you think it's worth if we look at our 2024 resolutions and maybe see how well we check the box on those?
Absolutely. And don't forget, we did a check-in midway.
We did.
24. So we can kind of compare and contrast to where we were then and see kind of where we're going now. Sure.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Do you want to take one of yours?
Sure. Can you remind me what it was?
Sure. Let's see.
I'm sure I know what they are, but just tell me which one to start with.
Matt's first resolution for 2024 is that he'd like to keep building Performance Optimist Consulting University by getting more help. So far, Matt has ventured on this journey primarily alone and looks forward to bringing new perspectives, not only to execute the next steps, but also create them.
Yes, and that is happening. You will hear as we get to one of my things for 2025 how that has altered, and I think getting some input, getting some fresh perspectives has helped me understand where POC University needs to go. And I will just say for right now, as a little bit of a teaser, that some things are going to be changing.
Ooh. Is that it? Is that the whole teaser?
That's it for now.
Okay.
For now.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the mid-year update, you said you created a new website on Patreon and you're gathering feedback from members.
That was all true. And a part of that feedback has led me to, again, a little bit of a teaser, go in a slightly different direction.
Ooh. That was just like, that wasn't even a new teaser. That's
Okay.
that just kept things as vague and elusive
Yes.
as first. Cool.
Yeah.
So one of mine for 2024 was to focus more on building partnerships and sustaining guest experience initiatives. And that throughout my career, I've often flown out for a temporary time to deliver a workshop, and I typically find myself working in short time frames. And I want to commit more time to growing guest experience initiatives and building more rewarding and long-lasting relationships with the industry. As a side note, a huge thank you to Mason Nichols, who at the time was writing our summaries for AttractionPros. So he drafted this. These are his words of his amazing interpretation of our resolutionary episode of last year. So the goal is to build more ongoing partnerships, and I can say I have done that and am continuing to do that at IAAPA Expo. The vast majority of the meetings that I had, and therefore the proposals that I've sent out, have been focused specifically on my guest experience strategy partnership. So I've built my training program over the last almost decade or so, and I've had thousands of team members, probably close to 10,000 team members of all skill level and of all level of hierarchy within the organization go through a variation of my guest experience workshop as it's evolved over time. And then last year, when I say last year, I actually mean in 2023, I was able to pull back and say, okay, what are some of the things that I can continue to do on an ongoing basis? Maybe a little bit over Zoom, maybe a little bit over Slack, maybe it's via email and some asynchronous communication, but still supporting the industry and supporting my clients. And I've gotten amazing feedback from those who have been on the program since the beginning of 2024. And we've seen a lot of some quick wins, some really good wins, some substantial growth in some certain areas. And I'm continuing to kind of collect feedback just from that program. I'm saying, okay, what can I do to add even more structure to it, add even more value to it, and most importantly, help my clients see results specifically around the areas of guest experience.
Excellent. Excellent. Sounds like that might be continuing. That's not much
Yeah.
of a teaser, but that's
Big teaser. I plan to continue that in 2025. Spoiler alert. Yeah.
not much of a spoiler alert.
Yeah.
All right. What was another one of mine? I should have these pulled up.
Well, this next one is more personal, as you want to keep committing to your health after
Yes.
receiving open heart surgery. So,
Yeah.
although several factors are out of your control, Matt, you realize that there's plenty that you can do to ensure your well-being. And since the surgery, you have been exercising, avoiding fried foods, and working to build great habits that lead to positive lifestyle changes. Now, before we started recording our IAAPA recap episode, we were talking about how each other's Thanksgiving were. And the way that you talked about your Thanksgiving dinner aligned very nicely with your resolution. So I don't think we were recording at that point, so I don't think it's in the episode, but I just wanted to say I can help to validate that by what you've told me.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So one of the big things I've been doing, in addition to eating less fried foods, almost no fried foods, less red meat as recommended by my doctors, reducing salt, reducing a lot of salt intake, was that I'm also eating a lot smaller portions. So during Thanksgiving dinner, I had a plate and I had a lot of stuff on it, but it was like one bite of everything, maybe two bites. And I did go back for more stuffing because I love that stuff. But I do find myself really trying to, put good things into my body for healthy reasons. But then also, like you said, exercising, doing more of that, which can be difficult when you're kind of on the road a lot. But I find that one of the things that I enjoy doing and is good for me is walking. And I can do that just about anywhere. So even this last year at IAAPA, I stayed at the Spring Hill Suites down by SeaWorld. And on Saturday or Sunday, the day I got there, and I needed to go get my badge. Now, I could have taken the car to the convention center. I could have grabbed an Uber, but I decided to walk. So I walked from my hotel all the way to the convention center and then all the way back. Got a nice sweat going, and it was I don't want to go as far as to say it was cathartic, but it was a very nice experience just to be able to do that and to not only be back at IAAPA, because that was huge after missing it the year before because of my surgery. But then also just being able to, from a physical standpoint, make the walk back. And then certainly during IAAPA was on my feet a lot, as we talked about, with wearing good shoes. But just doing that kind of thing and embracing those opportunities is something I've been doing a lot of.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, that is quite a long walk from the Spring Hill Suites to the convention center and back. And however many steps you took inside the building in the convention center itself is also worth pointing out too. Very
Yeah.
nice. Well,
Yeah.
good. I enjoy hearing that update.
Thank you. Thank you. What's one of yours? Is another one of yours?
Right. So I never expected to become a public speaker, but I now find myself consistently speaking at expos and workshops. And so knowing this, I wanted to commit to becoming a great public speaker in 2024 by taking advantage of resources around me, such as enrolling in courses at the Second City in Chicago. By finding a unique voice and providing opportunities to laugh, Josh will make sure, I will make sure, I'm an even better speaker the next time you hear me. Again, thank you to Mason for writing that paragraph, writing the summary here. Yes. So Second City in Chicago offers a wide variety of courses, and I believe they even offer courses specifically that are public speaking courses. However, I very intentionally took stand up one. There's stand up one and stand up two. So I took the intro to stand up, which was really cool because there were, I think, 9 or 10 other people in the class, and they were all pursuing stand up comedy as a hobby. And when we all went around and introduced ourselves and said, why are we doing this? And I was like, well, I'm a consultant and I speak a lot, and I feel like there's a lot more energy in the room and the content resonates better, when the audience is laughing, when they feel that they are entertained as much as they are educated. And my teacher, his name was Law, he really leaned into that, and he really validated the importance of that. And he even talked about the word entertain. And he said, most people think of entertain as being something that's kind of passive. It just sort of washes over you. But then he broke down, I don't know if it was the Latin root or Italian, whatever. He went way deeper than I expected him to do that. But he said, no, it is actually about engaging and locking in and that form of connection. And that really resonated with me. And I was able to take a lot of the components that I learned in that class and just weave in some parts of it into the sessions that I deliver and into the talks that I give. And it's not necessarily that if I get up and give a 1 hour presentation that it feels like you've gone and seen an hour of stand-up comedy, but I feel like there is a lot more humor that's embedded into a lot of the content that I'm already delivering, of saying, hey, I can tell this story and I can get from beginning to end and deliver all the information, or I can deliver those ebbs and flows and those sidelines along the way, and maybe throw in a little observational components to it as well, and bring that in. And it doesn't take up much more time to do that, and the audience is more engaged with it, entertained, and that content is resonating better. So at IAAPA Expo in November, I spoke multiple times, including the session that you and I delivered, which I think our banter naturally leads to some humor. So there wasn't too much that we had to intentionally add in there. But I delivered the FEC lunch on Tuesday called Create Raving Fans Through Your Guest Experience. So talked about the components of the hospitality mentality, and took kind of my keynote and thought about opportunities where I can weave in some crowd work, some observational components, some areas of storytelling. And on LinkedIn, Sarah Clark, who is the director of operations at Gateway Arch in St. Louis, we've had her on the podcast. She commented on my post and said, Josh, I've attended several of your sessions over the years, and this one was my favorite to date. Thoughtful, funny, and a fresh approach to the basics. So I point that out not because I'm out there because it's, you should hire me because I'm a funny speaker, but the content that you're going to get, the audience ideally should enjoy being in the room and not have a speaker that is, death by PowerPoint, which I've never really been, maybe very early on. But the more I can strip away out of the clicking and the presentation, and more I can use to support more of that, I feel like I'm having more fun on stage, and that the audience is right there, and we're all in it together.
Absolutely. So I saw an example of this at IATP when you delivered a session and you basically just kind of went right into it. Like this was just a conversation with you and the audience, which I thought was amazing. I will also say that a lot of my sort of early um, shtick, for lack of a better term, came from stand-up comedy. And I think I mentioned this when you first said that, and I didn't realize it. But just when I was younger in high school and stuff, I would watch a ton of stand-up comedy, and then I realized as I was getting into being a speaker that those lessons kind of got in there somehow, right? And I started using that. So I thought it was really cool that you decided to study that more specifically and incorporate those things into your presentations.
Yeah, and I look forward to seeing how can I lean even more into that as well, because it's then it just makes it a lot of fun, and then it kind of takes away some of those jitters. And the second I get that first reaction from the audience, we're like, okay, we've got this, and then like now we can, now there's a more like casual tone over the entire presentation, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your final resolution for 2024 is that you'd like to make sure you can tell your story when it will make a positive impact on somebody. So you want to make sure that your story is a chapter in your life and not the whole book. By using the story in the right moments, Matt can continue to make an incredible impact on people's lives.
So the story that we're talking about obviously is my surgery, my quadruple bypass surgery, and I absolutely feel like this is a chapter in my life, but I keep going back to it. It's like, if you look at a physical book, I'm turning the page back to it, quite often, but it's not because I'm, reliving it or it's anything bad, although, at the time I wouldn't say it was the greatest thing in the world, but there have been a lot of opportunities to bring that story out at just the right time, when it would impact someone in a specific way. And so I've definitely kept my mind kind of open to all of that, if that makes sense. Just kind of thinking about, what lessons did I learn from that? Obviously, there's a lot of health lessons I took from that. There's things about how the heart works that I've learned from that. I've learned that when and I hope this is medically correct, but like part of my vein was taken from my leg to, do the bypass surgery, and they don't reconnect that vein in your leg. So your body adapts and says, I guess I don't need that anymore. So I'm going to channel the blood someplace else in your
Wow.
leg. So just knowing those kind of things and just taking all the little lessons away. But I really think where this comes from or how this applies is simply by listening. And that's something that I've always felt like was an important part of what I do as a speaker, as a coach, as a trainer, is to listen to what people are saying and where their story is taking them and to figure out the best way that I can help them. So when I think about the story that I've been through, the situation that I've been through, there's going to be times when it should never come up. Like it doesn't matter. But
Mhm.
there are times, and I think this applies to just about every situation that we've been through in life. There's times when you need to open that drawer and say, this is the story I need to tell, or this is the question I need to ask because this is where this particular conversation is going. So absolutely, I think this is a chapter. It's in the drawer. I can pull it out anytime I need to, but it's not something that is leading my life, or it's not something that is I don't even know the right. It's not guiding every little thing that I do. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good update. It's good to see kind of how you've really taken that and the way that I don't want to say interpreted it because it was your own resolution, but the way you've implemented that in your life as far as knowing when the story makes the most sense and which parts of it. So
Sure.
excellent. Thanks for
Awesome.
sharing it.
I think you had one more too, didn't you?
My final resolution is I'd like to hold more in-person events in 2024. After hosting two successful events in 2023 with the Attraction Pros meetup and my book launch at IAAPA Expo, I have fallen in love, thank you, Mason, with the relaxed environment and opportunities to build relationships and meet people in a setting that doesn't revolve around exchanging business cards. We hope to see you at the Attraction Pros meetup in 2024. Woo! Well, first of all, we loved seeing you all at the Attraction Pros meetup in 2024. I think that may have been the only in-person event that I held in 2024. I will say my calendar from around April through August was completely blocked off as my wife and I had a baby in May. And that that kept me home, that kept me focused on my immediate family. So while I would say that I didn't host several events in 2024, the event that you and I did host, I think I think accomplishes this resolution. I also do think that last year in our resolutionary episode, did we give a teaser for a potential Attraction Pros event coming sometime in the future, or am I letting that out of the bag right now and perhaps prematurely? That is something that you and I still want to do,
Yeah,
and it's our midterm horizon. It's not going to happen in 2025 as we initially were starting to talk about it and really kind of collect some details and putting it together. But maybe 2026, and maybe we'll see what it looks like. But I think one thing that we can commit to, and that's hosting a meetup again at IAAPA in 2025 on the Sunday night before the expo, after you take your big long walk to the convention center and back. It was so good. And now we have the opportunity to say, okay, what can we do? What could make it even better? What can top it? So
absolutely. And what was great about that is we got so much, and I know we talked about this already on the IAP recap, but we got so many great suggestions from people, specifically who were guests on the podcast, saying, I'd love to be able to see who was a guest.
mhm.
So is it a button? Is it a sash? Is it a t-shirt? Is it a hat? Is it a crown? What is it, that says, hey, Josh was on this episode of the Attraction Pros podcast, and be able to use that sort of as a networking or just kind of an introduction piece. So I think there's a lot of opportunities that we have with that, but also just, getting as many people in the room that just love to talk about attractions.
Yeah, exactly. Jamie Flaherty really wants us to recreate Squid Games, where everyone who's been on the podcast, their number is their episode number. Jamie, we're going to do our best. We're gonna try to figure it out. I don't know how we're going to pull it off, but we'll figure it out. Yeah,
We'll figure it out. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So awesome. Awesome. So should we now turn the page and look at 2025?
We could, unless we want to quickly talk about the resolutions that we gave to the industry for
Oh,
2020.
right. Okay. Take it away. Go for it.
Let's this can be quick. This can be quick. Take care of your people. Make exceeding expectations part of the standard operating procedure. Do not avoid conflict. Lean into conflict, right? Embrace conflict and eliminate the phrase, let me get my manager. And we'd like to congratulate the entire industry on accomplishing all four of those resolutions.
Nicely done, industry.
Yeah, yeah, they're all done.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I think looking at kind of my list for 25, some of those things are going to kind of pop back around. The teaser I mentioned earlier, but also those things for the industry. So
Cool. Cool. Yeah. So as you listen to, as you think about those resolutions that we gave to the industry, you can think about, did you do that in 2024? And is it something that you can expand upon and continue into 2025?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool.
So do you want to start with 2025?
I took a little bit of a different approach to resolutions this year, and like you said, people make the resolution, but there's no accountability. They tend to fall off by February. So I started to think, well, okay, there's the things to do, like those three that we put together, and then I thought about overarching themes, and then I thought multiple themes that could be interconnected across multiple years. So instead of really looking at kind of this is what I'm going to do in 2025, I've more so looked at saying, what was the theme for 2024? What's the theme for 2025? And then how does that tie into the theme of 2026 as well?
Excellent. Excellent. So you want to give us a little insight into what that thought process was?
Yeah. So in the middle of 2023, I had a little bit of a career setback. And it was a little bit when I think about some other setbacks that I've had in my career, like, the pandemic, right? This actually was kind of small potatoes compared to that, but it gave me the opportunity to focus entirely on my consulting business, which then led to the resolution of build more ongoing partnerships. But it also meant that my theme for 2024 was really to stabilize. Because my source of income had changed entirely, and I needed to basically, I wasn't exactly rebuilding my business from scratch, but I was revisiting it, refocusing it, realigning it, and also realizing that this is my thing right now. And through my training, through my consulting, it had always been part of a larger picture. It had been either I'm doing this as well as something else while I'm helping to build up. When I was working with Amusement Advantage and building the company's consulting division, I was also doing business development for the Mystery Shop program and helping to grow that and manage accounts. And then even when I was working for Roller, people would call me on occasion. They said, "Well, can you come speak to our staff?" Well, sure, I can speak to your staff, right? And then now it's okay. This is it, right? So my theme for 2024 was really to stabilize and to say, can I get to the place where I need to be for myself, for my home, for my family, for what my family expects from me to be able to bring to the table, and at least get to a point of stability as quickly as possible. And I'm thankful to say that I did. And I was able to really hit the ground running and created some amazing, whether between the partnerships that I was able to build, as well as the one-time trainings that I did throughout 2024. It really was. It actually, I would say, was the first time I ever needed to really prove the concept for my business, because it was, this is my sole source of income right now. So I'm thankful to say that I was able to get stability for 2024. And then now my goal for 2025 is to say, well, how can I grow this in a sustainable way, in a way that will allow me to continue serving more clients, to continue adding more value to clients. So it's not just growth for the sake of growth and creating more revenue for my business, but also how can I grow the programs within the clients that I'm working with to make sure that they are seeing the results that they're expecting while working with me. So my theme for 2025 is going to be growth, which then leads into my theme for 2026 already, which is now I'm thinking about scale. So now how can we take this and say, okay, right now I'm a one-man business. I'm a solopreneur. I've created more branding around my business itself. When just up until a few months ago, it was just me. I wasn't even promoting the name of my business, which is Liebman Leisure Group. I'm thrilled to announce I'm going to have a booth at IAAPA Expo in 2025. I need to solidify some space to be able to meet, be able to talk to people, and the IAAPA Members Lounge is fantastic. And I need the space on the show floor as well. I've pretty much, I would say, overstayed my welcome in that lounge. So I've committed to being able to focus on growth from that standpoint, and then thinking about what does the business look like in the future. What does it look like if I expand the team a little bit? So these are where my gears are turning. Maybe this is kind of a teaser as vague as your teaser as going in a different direction, because I don't know what the answers are to that, but it's where I'm thinking about to saying, okay, how can I take this and really make it my thing, make it my business?
That's really cool. That's really cool. So at your booth, are you going to give away food, or what's your what's what's your look?
I I have some thoughts swirling right now.
Yeah.
It's too early to talk about it now, but I will say it will align with the theme of my business.
Okay.
Mhm. And
Okay.
I'm not in the business of making tiki bars and luau's and lounge chairs and
Right.
my Jimmy Buffett fandom, right? Yes.
Right. Yeah. 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 No,
But
there was another picture that came to mind, but I will save that for maybe when we're not recording, just to see if it aligns. But anyway, no, I appreciate that. That's really, really cool, and great way to kind of think about the different phases of your business. You've stabilized, which is awesome. Growing and sustaining that business and continue doing that throughout the future. And then how do you scale that? How do you make it bigger, right? Which can be a challenge when you are a solopreneur, like me, right? And so I think of that as well. And that's maybe some of the things that I've been kind of thinking through as well. Maybe not using that word, but certainly expanding, right? And really growing the amount of influence, the amount of value that you can provide to people, which, certainly is the way to keep your business going.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the third component of it, the scale piece of it, this is going to tie into some teasers here kind of coming in the future. But the goal is to take, a lot of what I'm doing right now that is in person, that is direct one-on-one, and saying, well, how can this be done one to many? So I'm looking at digitizing a lot of components of it. This is a teaser for Service Recovery Hero. It is an online course that is self-paced. It is asynchronous. It is, something that I'm going to offer to the wider industry of saying, hey, let's talk about your service recovery strategy. Here's all the things that I've consulted on with it, packed into an online course you can take on, at your own time. So that's kind of stepping into the goal of scale, which will come even later into 2026 and beyond.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, that's awesome. That's
All
awesome.
right. So I kind of just threw it all out there, but
Okay, cool.
what are you looking forward to?
So, like you, I kind of have a theme. My theme is around the word embrace. So
Okay.
there's quite a few things that I want to embrace, and this may be um, continuing something I've already done, or re-engaging with something that I have done in the past that I feel like maybe I've gotten away from. So I'm actually going to start with probably what I would say is my it's kind of third on my list as I wrote it down, but it's something that I definitely am re-embracing with, and that is my writing. So I'm actually writing a third book. I don't think I've even told you this yet officially. I'm 13,000 words in, so I still have a long way to go. But my third book will be about kind of middle management and that pressure cooker of being in the middle of an organization. So more to come on that, but also as I've gotten back into writing in the book form, I've recognized how much I miss writing blog posts and articles. And, a lot of the things that I've experimented with over the years, it's kind of one of those coming full circle moments for me I had recently. I've done videos and I still will do some videos here and there and things like that. But where I've gotten the best feedback, where I've gotten, what I feel like is the greatest impact is when I'm writing the things that I want to say. Obviously this is a different format as we're talking to each other. We are interviewing guests and those type of things. But when I can write an article and I can put it in the way that I want to say it, and I can do that in my opinion and the feedback I've gotten in a more succinct and educational way. And I really enjoy doing that. I want to embrace that a little bit more. So yes, I'm writing a third book, but I'm also probably going to get back to, instead of trying to do a video that I'm less comfortable with, kind of coming back to the writing piece, which I really, really love, and being able to tell stories that way. I just feel like as I've experimented with a lot of different things, that is probably my medium, if you will. So that's something I'm re-embracing. I'm re-embracing writing for the future. And again, this is not just a 2025 thing. This is for the future kind of a thing.
As resolution should be.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, first of all, I cannot wait to read your book. And even though you're only at 13,000 words, I know that obviously if you're embracing writing, that's going to go up quickly. And then, in terms of the articles and the blog post, I think I just kind of had a light bulb moment go off here as well that when I have a thought and say, okay, this is the topic, and I get down and I write that, 600, 800 word article that maybe I post on LinkedIn or send out to my email list or both. There's the short-term benefit of it, of just like being on top of mind for your audience and doing, it's content marketing. So that's, it is a marketing piece for you, but it also I feel like it helps me like align and centralize. These are my thoughts on this topic, which I can then pull into conference presentations or consulting that I'm doing with clients or with workshops or things like that of saying, okay, because I wrote this blog post, I've organized my thoughts on it and I can use it as a reference for me as
Sure.
well going in the future. So uh, I think that's good for everybody. And of saying and embrace that writing, even if you don't have to post it on LinkedIn.
No,
You can send it to your email. You can share it, but you can also maybe it's that I guess that's called journaling. It's probably what that is if you write that and say, okay, this is what I'm thinking about. And then maybe one day, if you do that enough, you'll have a book.
you'll have a book.
Yeah.
If you want to publish, you don't have to publish, right? It's just a good way to kind of get your thoughts down. So
Yeah.
that's something that I'm absolutely re-embracing for the years to come. Um, so I guess I will pull back the curtain on that bit of a teaser on POC University. So actually, at the day that we are recording this, it's a little bit bittersweet because since I started POC University, we've done a weekly check-in with the people that are in the group, and it's an hour. We check in on what's happening. People talk about their issues. We brainstorm around them. It's been a great format. Today was the last one.
Oh.
Those, okay? I've recognized that in order to, I'll use your word scale, right? POC University, what I need to do is I have to widen the audience. I have to widen the net of trying to, get the information out to people. So the way that it has been structured is that POC University was a kind of a membership program, right? And the people would pay a small monthly fee to be part of this group. And full transparency, I didn't know what I was doing when I created a membership group. And so I'm almost stepping back a little bit. So I'm actually eliminating the POC University membership piece of it as it stands right now. I'm bringing back my mastermind program, which got a lot of great feedback and great use back in the day when I did that. The mastermind program actually morphed into POC University. So now it's, again, a bit of a full circle coming back to it. But I'm also opening up a lot more opportunities for people to engage with me and engage with the community through, I'm going to be doing some monthly like Zoom calls, monthly sessions. I'm going to open things up to my email list and the All Clear group that I have on Facebook. And, anybody who wants to listen, anybody who's I'm connected with on LinkedIn. But a big part of what I'm trying to embrace here is also embracing community, because through the POC University process, I've really seen how people coming together can be such a powerful tool. It can be a powerful force. It can be soul filling. It can be all those wonderful things. But I think I went about it in the wrong way. So this is me sort of resetting that. Again, kind of bittersweet day that some of the people that I've interacted with on a weekly basis for 4 years now, that format is going away, but I'm re-energized in a lot of other ways. So there's going to be a lot more opportunities for people to come together. That's really a big part of my goal, and to support the development of other leaders. One of the things that I've been been going through my head is saying I want more opportunities to support other leaders. And again, transparently, I can just do that. Like if I see somebody on LinkedIn that is doing something that I think is really cool, to support them and to maybe repost that or whatever the case may be. So, just looking for those opportunities, not waiting for them, but looking for them, because I really feel like I've, again, turned a bit of a corner in my career where, like the last couple of years, I've done things at IAAPA that were with other people, like with the thing I did with you, and then I've done things with people that were in the unit, we call them unis, right? The people in the university group, and those were very kind of proud parent moments for me. I don't have children, but I think I've mentioned this, like to see the people that came together in that group then put on a presentation at IAAPA and have that just so well received. That was like such a win for me. And I won't say I had nothing to do with it, but it was seeing them grow and seeing them blossom. So I want to do more of that. I'm looking for more and more of those opportunities. And I think bringing people together on a Zoom call in a live format, I think can help do that, or that can be the platform that allows me to do that. So again, kind of embracing community, embracing bringing people together, also embracing the crazy, I will say a little bit, because I know we talked about the random 8 that I did at IAAPA. I'm going to be doing that again at Ames and anytime I can. But there's been quite a few examples recently where something that I probably would have said 5 or 6 years ago, well, that's crazy. That'll never work. They have been working, or at least there have been steps to be taken so that these kind of things are getting some momentum. The fear leadership thing that I kind of teased a little bit, which again, I won't go into too much detail because it's very, very early in the process, but I'm super excited about it. That kind of thing, again, like I would have said many years ago, that's never going to fly. But you get the right people in the room, you get the right kind of pitch to them, you get the right idea, you get just kind of that yes and concept going, and you never know what's going to happen. So those are some other things that I'm also embracing for the coming years is, again, I've been doing this for a while. I will never say that I know everything, but I'm excited about continuing to learn and embracing all that crazy.
That's awesome.
So there I am.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
before we wrap up here, I just want to maybe express some goals, some resolutions for Attraction Pros
Okay.
specifically.
Actually,
I
before we do that, is there was one other thing that I
Yeah.
wanted to mention. And I know we mentioned it the recap episode, but in my support, my desire to build community and support for other leaders in the attractions industry, I've got a real bee in my bonnet about people presenting at IAAPA. And I know, like I said, I know I've said this before. I've done a lot of LinkedIn posts about it already. You're going to hear me sing this song until February 3rd when the deadline is upon us. But if you have an idea, if you have a thought, if you are thinking about presenting next year at IAAPA, please reach out. I'm happy to talk about what the session might be. I'm happy to kind of go through the proposal with you. I absolutely feel like we need new, fresh, additional voices in addition to the people that have been there for many years. And, it might sound counterintuitive because I've presented at IAAPA for so many years, and somebody might say, well, you're getting people in to push you out. Well, if none of my presentations get picked next year and you've got all these fresh new voices and they're bringing the value and the gold to the industry, then so be it. That's what we need to happen. So I just wanted to reiterate one more time to people to get those proposals in, and if you need any help, please reach out. That's all I wanted to say. So now we can talk about Attraction Pros.
Well, now I just want to say that this is the second time in 24 hours I have heard you use the phrase "be in my bonnet," as well as the second time in my entire life I've ever heard it. But yes, I echo that. I hear you 100%. For us, audience growth and engagement, we, in the last just couple of months, I would say we put a lot of effort into that. We refreshed our logo, so I want to thank our intern Abby for helping us with from that branding standpoint. As well as kind of going into 2025, some more digital components. I would love to rebuild our website. I think it is due. It is 7.5 years old now. It was great for when it was built. As well as leveraging more technology and resources as well. So we mentioned, Mason was, doing the summaries earlier in the year as well as, last year and was doing it for quite a while. We've had some intern support in being able to do it. As Mason got an amazing employment opportunity, you and I took it upon ourselves to do it. And then we realized that we could create an amazing prompt for ChatGPT. And ChatGPT has been doing all of our summaries now since Mason departed. So I think since like May of 2024 or something like that, leaning more into that, which allows us to do more. We also replaced the quote cards. We now have quote clips thanks to using Opus, of being able to upload and letting it decide. Maybe it's going to decide that me speaking right now is going to be one of the clips that we post on social media. we let it decide, and it uses the algorithm to determine what are the most impactful components that our guests or that you and I say. And then with that, I just kind of want to wrap up all this just with a point of gratitude. I know we thanked our fans in the IAAPA recap. I really want to thank our entire audience for being along for the ride with us. No pun intended. I also mentioned Mason, our former intern, as well as Abby, our current intern, and then also really want to mention Kristen as well. She does so much work for us in scheduling and coordinating and really kind of being the correspondent between our guests and us. And we wouldn't have interviews scheduled if not for the hard work that she does. So I want to thank her as well as Abby for editing our videos and doing an amazing job from a production standpoint.
Absolutely. And I will echo all of those thanks. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I feel like one of the things that we do well in this format when we're here, when we have guests, is really to engage with them well. And I think, our interns have done that. We love to engage with our guests. We love to engage with our listeners. But I feel like that's something that we could even do better in terms of how can we engage with our listeners? How can we, get them to engage better with us? I think we can do that a little bit better online. Obviously, when we're in person, it's I don't want to say it's a no-brainer, but it's awesome because we're all there and we all have the same goal. But that's something I would like to see us work on as well in the future, is using maybe that technology, using, different things for us to be able to, even get to know our listeners better. Because I know we've said this in the past, where as you look at the stats, it's a number on a spreadsheet, it's a number on a graph. But when we had that event in Orlando and we got to see the faces behind those numbers, it was so amazing. So, I mean, if we could do an event every week, I would love it, but I know that's not practical. But I do think that there's an opportunity for us to engage and for our audience to engage even more with us, so that we can continue to build this really robust community.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that ties in audience growth as well, audience engagement, I will say, as well as leveraging technology. And this is a shameless plug. If you want a quote every single day from an industry leader, we are using technology to repurpose many past episodes and find the most impactful quotes from transcripts. And we are sending just one email every single day with a quote from an individual who has been on the podcast. So if you need that for shift notes, or you want to put it on the whiteboard in your office, or you just want to wake up and just get something to get you out of bed in the morning, the link is in the show notes. Just sign up for that, and you'll get a quote every single day for the rest of your life from a top leader from the attractions industry who's been on the podcast.
Wow, for the rest of your life.
Yes, thanks to AI technology.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, are we ready to put a bow on this resolutionary episode and actually get to the work that we just said that we're going to do?
I've got a bee in my bonnet. I don't know if I use that phrase correctly or not. But yes, I think we should wrap up and we should end this.
Okay. Well, with that, I want to thank you, Josh, for another amazing year of the Attraction Pros podcast. I want to thank everybody who's listening, who's watching, who's ever listened, who's ever watched. Maybe you could watch this for the rest of your life as you're getting those quotes every day. But thank you so much for being a loyal Attraction Pros listener. And just remember, we are all Attraction Pros.